Bookaholics, welcome back to my channel. This is Angela, your own Bookaholic brown name. In this channel I talk about books that I'm reading, books that I've read, books that I'm planning to read, all things related to books. So if you are a bookaholic like me, please subscribe to my channel and also please like, share and comment because your opinions matter. As you would have seen in the thumbnail, December is my birthday month and I decided to treat myself with some books, of course. So I bought around 40 books matching my age, but actually it's more than 40 books, it's around 44 or 45 books. But some of them were bought by my husband because, you know, those were subjects that interest him. And since we had to get through so many books today, let's get right into it without wasting any more time. So today's books, it's a mix of all genres. So you have fantasy, non-fiction, a lot of non-fiction in fact, and science fiction, literary fiction, classics, so all kind of books. It's going to be a hodgepodge of all kind of genre today, and without any kind of classification because that would take a lot of time for me to get through. So I'm randomly showing you the books that I've bought. So the first book, it's a very small thin book, you can see here, very small cute little book, and that is Stephen King's Black Holes, the BBC Wraith Lectures. And I'm a science enthusiast, so whenever I see science books, I grab them. These are Stephen Hawking's flagship lectures about black holes. So yeah, quite interested to see them. It's very short, so I think I can just finish it in a day. Next one is Lupone. So ever since I watched this series on Netflix, I was so interested in reading this book. So when I went to the bookshop and I saw this, and it was very cheap, I went to Blossoms and it was for 240 bucks. You can see here. So I just grabbed it immediately. So yeah, very interested to see what the actual literature is as compared to the show. Next is a book which was winner of the 2007 Pulitzer Prize special citation. So this is the famous Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. I don't know much about this book, but I've seen a lot of people giving positive reviews, excellent reviews in fact, so I'm quite excited to get to it. Next is a book that has been recommended by many booktubers and very recently by the lovely Joanna from Joanna's Booktube channel. So this is Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. You know, I'm quite excited to get to this because the premise of the story is very, very interesting. So in a small black alley in Tokyo, there is a cafe which has been serving carefully brewed coffee for more than 100 years. But this coffee shop offers its customers a unique experience, the chance to travel back in time. And we meet 4 visitors, each of whom is hoping to make use of the cafe's time traveling offer in order to confront the lover who left them, receive a letter from their husband whose memory has begun to fade, see their sister one last time, and meet the daughter they never got a chance to know. So time travel is always a very interesting topic, at least for me. Funny fact is that I bought this on Amazon, and then recently I went to Blossoms, and Blossoms is a book house here, a bookshop. So when I went there, I picked this up again, completely forgetting that I already had a copy, a unread brand new copy. So I ended up with 2 copies, so I gave one to my husband. So yeah, amnesia, not a good thing. Next is a classic, which is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I have no idea what this is about, but I have heard excellent reviews about this. The only novel written by Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray is an arresting moral commentary and a classic example of Gothic fiction. So that's The Picture of Dorian Gray. Next is A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. Lock up your libraries if you like, but there is no gate, no lock, no bolt that you can set upon the freedom of my mind. Powerful quote, right? Next is Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. I think I have read this long time ago when I was in college or something, but I forgot. So I thought it's a good idea to own one of these, and it was like kind of very cheap, and of course it's a small book. So why not? The next is The Time Machine by H.G. Wells. Again, science fiction. Of course, I wanted to read this classic for a long time, so I just picked it up when I saw a very affordable copy. And you might have seen many of these books on my Bookstagram because I've been waiting for some of my books to be delivered and then to do this haul video. So, yeah, I used a couple of them for my Bookstagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, do check it out. The next one in this pile is a book that I've already read actually. This is The Stranger by Albert Camus. And I have already done a review of this book as well. So if you haven't checked it, check it out. I will add the card above. Then I have my first ever William Faulkner book, Absalom. Absalom is Faulkner's epic tale of Thomas Sutpen, an enigmatic stranger who comes to Jefferson, Mississippi in the early 1830s to wrest his mansion out of the muddy bottoms of the North Mississippi wilderness. He was a man, Faulkner said, who wanted sons, and the sons destroyed him. This is published by Vintage International, but I am not impressed by the quality of the book. Next is a book that I'm very much looking forward to read, which is my first ever Octavia E. Butler book, which is Kindred. I am very much looking forward to reading this, and I can't believe that I missed out on such an amazing author, female author, for such a long time. And thanks to BookTube, I discovered her, and I'm so excited to read her. Next is a classic, Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. So I had this book for my I think high school, not high school, in my pre-degree course. So I quite vividly remember the characters, and I was so enamored by them, and I love this story. So I wanted to read this again, so I bought this. This is again classic horror. I picked up this book, Dracula by Bram Stoker, because recently AP from AP Canavan's channel, he did an analysis of this book, Dracula, and I was so captivated by his review. I always categorized it as a very silly genre fiction, but the way he did the analysis, it really captivated my interest, and I decided that I have to read this, so I picked this copy up. And if you haven't watched his review of Dracula, go and check it out. It was brilliant. Next is again a BookTube recommendation actually, and this is Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. I don't have much information about this book. One of the most important and enduring books of the 20th century, Their Eyes Were Watching God, brings to life a southern love story with the wit and pathos found only in the writing of Zora Neale Hurston. Out of print for almost 30 years, due largely to initial audiences' rejection of its strong black female protagonist, Hurston's classic has since its 1978 reissue become perhaps the most widely read and highly acclaimed novel in the canon of African American literature. So yeah, I will make it a point to read this sometime during next year. So that was I think the pile of smaller books and mostly fiction. Moving on. Next is The Order of Time by Carlo Rovelli. I like the blurb which is given in the front, which is "Physics has found its poet," and that really grabbed my attention. And I think my dear friend Brandon from Brandon's Bookshelf has a video lined up, because I saw that in his future video or upcoming videos in his video descriptions. So I'm looking forward to that, and I don't know if I can finish this or read this before that, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this book. Again, a physics book, which is Parallel Worlds by Michio Kaku. So I'm sure you're all aware of this author. He is a very popular science writer and scientist, physicist. The Science of Alternative Universes and Our Future in the Cosmos. As Michio Kaku reveals, what for 250 years was science fiction fantasy is now the likeliest picture of reality. The journey he takes the reader on is so picturesque and the conclusion so startling that you are gripped. So like I said, I read a lot of science books. But I keep watching his videos online, and I'm so inspired by his enthusiasm to popularize science and especially string theory, because he is one of the founders of string theory. So yeah, I'm quite excited to read this book. Okay, this file has mostly non-fiction books. So this is a book I picked up after I saw this in one of Brandon's video, which is Behave. I'm sorry if you can't see this. Okay, The Biology of Humans at Our Best and Worst is a thick one, by Robert Sapolsky. I haven't explored this author yet. I think this is the first book by him that I'm going to read. Why do humans behave as they do? We are capable of savage acts of violence but also spectacular feats of kindness. Is one side of our nature destined to win out over the other? So currently I'm reading this book along with Brandon, called The Kindness of Strangers, and it's a fascinating book, which scientifically looks into why do we do or why do we show or extend our kindness to complete strangers. So it's a fascinating book, and it's much more interesting than I thought it would be, and maybe this book is in line with that. Quite excited to look, to read about science of mind all the time. Linguistics is another interest that I have when it comes to non-fiction books. I've been reading a lot of Noam Chomsky. I should read more. It's kind of a difficult subject for me, but I like to explore subjects that interest me even though they are difficult. And we are blessed to have the internet at our hands these days, so that you don't have to really, struggle to get information. So I would like to use that opportunity and educate myself on things that interest me, and linguistics is one of them. And I picked up this book called How Language Works by David Crystal. How babies babble, words change meaning, and languages live or die. How does sound become speech? What makes a word rude or polite? Is it possible to speak out of tune? How do we learn to read? So these are the kind of questions that David Crystal tries to answer in this book. The next two books were picked up by my husband, and I want to still show this in the hall. One is The History of Philosophy by A.C. Grayling, 3 Millennia of Thought from the West and Beyond. So philosophy is a subject he's deeply interested in, and he's been reading a lot of philosophy books recently and listening to a lot of podcasts and things like that. So he bought this, and I decided that I should also educate myself on this subject. So that's why I'm sharing this in my book haul. And the other one he picked up was Lives of the Stoics by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman. And this is also something I really, really wanted to read from a long time. And this time when we went to Blossom, we got a very fine hard copy for a reasonable price. So we picked it up. It's just $480, but very good quality book by Hatchet India. The next book again is a science book, which is Live Wired by David Eagleman. It's mainly about the neuroplasticity of our brain, the inside story of the ever-changing brain. So I have The Brain by David Eagleman, which I have not read yet. So once I finish reading that, I will read this book. But my husband, I think he has finished reading The Brain, so I think he will get to this first. I think this is next in his TBR, so I think he will get to this before I can. Those were the books in the second bunch. Next one in this bunch is The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. So I know that the Codex Cantina channel had a read along recently for this, but I missed it. But the way they've been discussing, especially crypto, he's a complete fan of this book, and I was inspired and picked this up. And I actually read along Anna K with them, and absolutely loved that book. Initially, I was so frustrated with some of the characters because I couldn't relate to any of the main ones, but yeah. Later on, it really improved, and I ended up enjoying that book. So I'm looking forward to reading more and more Dostoevsky. So yeah, this is Brothers Karamazov. Next is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. Let me just read a summary if it's somewhere here. Yeah. Under the influence of their charismatic classics professor, a group of clever, eccentric misfits at an elite New England college discover a way of thinking and living that is a world away from the humdrum existence of their contemporaries. But when they go beyond the boundaries of normal morality, their lives are changed profoundly and forever. I don't know. I got the feeling of dark academia from here, from this book. I don't know if it is, but when I read one of the summaries some time ago, I got it, and I always wanted to read dark academia. So even if it turns out that it's not dark academia, I would still like it, I think, because I really like the premise of this book. Next is another Dostoevsky, which is Crime and Punishment. Yeah, what to say about Dostoevsky? I'm sure all of you know more than me about him and his books. The next is a book which is again a classic, which is Don Quixote by Cervantes. This is a chunker. I'm actually very intimidated, but I don't know. I wanted to own this book. I read a review somewhere, somebody raving about this book, and immediately ordered it. And now when I think about it, it is such a big chunk. How many pages are there? 1,100 pages. Oh my god. And yeah, but I still want to read it at some point, which is Don Quixote by Cervantes. Next is I think this is a fantasy book, The Betrayals by Bridget Collins. For me, this is a cover buy. I generally do not. I mean, rarely do cover buys, but I don't know. I was so attracted to this cover and I picked it up. And also the blurb was really good. Two young men, Leo and Carfax, close friends and fierce rivals. A family ripped apart by madness and tragedy. One woman, her life built upon a lie with a mysterious connection to them all. Will the truth be revealed? So I wanted the truth to be revealed, so I picked it up. The next book is The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. He is the author of The Silent Patient, which I kind of liked. I think I read the Kindle version of some of the Silent Patients. For Mariana Andros, a group therapist struggling through her private grief, it's where she met her late husband. For her niece Zoe, it's the tragic scene of her best friend's murder. As memory and mystery entangle Mariana, she finds a society full of secrets, which has been shocked to its core by the murder of one of its own. Because behind its idyllic beauty is a web of jealousy and rage, which emanates from an exclusive set of students known as the Maidens, a group under the sinister influence of the enigmatic professor Edward Fosca, a man who seems to know more than anyone about the murders and the victims, and the man who will become the prime suspect in Mariana's investigation, an obsession which will unravel everything. Sounded quite mysterious and intriguing, so I picked this up. It kind of fell in line with The Secret Society by Donna Tartt. Somehow, this group of students who are highly influenced by this enigmatic professor. So yeah, I thought I should read a little bit of mystery as well. Next is a book from one of my favorite authors, and that is Ken Follett, and his latest book, Never. The path to war begins with one false step. I actually love Ken Follies' historical fiction than his spy thrillers. I think this is a spy thriller, a really floppy paperback. But look at the font, guys. It's so huge, widely spaced. They should have condensed it and made this a much smaller book, I feel. But still, yeah, look at the floppiness. I love it. So yeah, that is Never by Ken Follett. Then I have a non-fiction book in this pile, which is Rationality, What It Is, Why It Seems Scare, Why It Matters by Steven Pinker himself. I read Enlightenment Now by Steven Pinker recently, but I didn't finish it. I need to finish it. It's again a huge chunker of a book. So yeah, I was kind of discouraged and I stopped 25% into the book, I think, but this looks like a doable read. Looking very much forward to reading this one. Steven Pinker, Rationality. Next, the book that everyone has been raving about on BookTube, and everybody has been recommending all over BookTube, and I wanted to read it desperately, and I've been looking for a copy. which was not too expensive. For some reason, every other book by this author is affordable except for this one. And then I went to Blossom's Book House, then I went to many other bookshops, but none of them had this. So at last I found one in Amazon, and when I received it, yeah, I'll show you how it looks like. How am I supposed to read this? Okay, then I decided to return it. They said they don't have another copy, so they're canceling it for me, and nobody came to collect it or anything, so I'm stuck with this now. But luckily it's only the first few pages that is like this, 1 or 2 pages, and that is Guards by Terry Pratchett. Because I have a Kindle copy also, so the first 2 pages I think I will cover in my Kindle, and then I'll get back to this physical copy. I'm really looking forward to reading this, just to find out what the hype is all about. So yeah, that's Guards by Terry Pratchett. Next is also a book from Terry Pratchett, which is Monstrous Regiment. I don't know in which order these books have to be read. I found a very affordable hard copy, beautiful one. I think this is a pre-loved book. I got it for very cheap, which is 250 bucks. Rupees. So that is Terry Pratchett's Monstrous Regiment. Next one is also a cover by, which is House of Holo by Crystal Sutherland. But it's not a complete cover by, because I read the premise of this book and I really liked it, and then I checked it up on Goodreads as well, and I found quite positive feedback about the book. So dark, dangerous things happen around the Holo sisters ever since they disappeared as children, only to reappear a month later with no memory of what had happened to them. Odd, eerie occurrences follow in their wake. When Gray, the eldest, goes missing again, Iris and Vivi are left to figure out the mystery, but they aren't the only ones looking for her. As they brush against the supernatural, Iris realizes that the world that returned them 10 years ago might be calling them back. But just how much horror lies beneath the surface? So, don't you think this is a very interesting premise? So, it's not just a pure cover by, but look at that cover, how gorgeous, beautiful. Next is also a booktube rec, The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Bowley. This is a Native American story, I think. 18-year-old Downey's mixed heritage has always made her feel like an outsider, both in her hometown and on the nearby Ojibwe reservation. So yeah, when she witnesses a shocking murder, she reluctantly agrees to be part of a covert FBI operation into a series of drug-related deaths. But the deceptions and deaths keep piling up, and soon the threat strikes too close to home. Now Donis must decide what it means to be a strong, Anishinaabe Kwe. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Ojibwe woman, and how far she will go to protect her community, even if it tears apart the only world she's ever known. So yeah, that's something that feels like I might want to read. And next is a fantasy pick. It's first book in a trilogy, which is Skype by Neil Shusterman, and I'm sure none of you need much introduction about this book, so I'm skipping the premise and the summary. Next in the pile is a very popular book in the Bookstagram world for very valid reason. Check this cover out. How beautiful is this? The Last Apothecary by Sarah Penna. I am so excited to read this, and this also was partly a cover by for me, but of course there has been so much good reviews going around for this book, so why not? Oh, next is The Complete Cosmic Comics by Italo Calvino. I read so many good, excellent reviews about this book, and I was so intrigued. So The Cosmic Comics tells the story of the history of the universe from the Big Bang through millennia and across galaxies. It is witnessed through the eyes of Cosmic Know-It-All, and I have no idea how to pronounce it, but his name is QFWFQ. an exuberant chameleon-like figure who takes the shape of a dinosaur, a mollusk, a steamer captain, and a moon milk gatherer, among others. This is the first complete edition in English of Italo Calvino's funny, whimsical, and delightful stories, which blend scientific facts, flights of fancy, parody, and wordplay to show the strangeness and the wonders of the world. I hope this is translated well. That is The Complete Cosmic Comics by Italo Calvino. Then I have Joe Abercrombie's Best Served Cold. I am planning to read The Heroes sometime next year along with my dear friend Joanna from Joanna's Booktube, and I thought that maybe I should read his trilogy first and then get to Best Served Cold as well before I read The Heroes. So yeah, I bought this so that I can read it. And again, this is one of the author whom I want to explore, because the entire booktube is gaga over Joe Abercrombie, and I want to find out what it is all about. Another science fiction which the entire booktube has been raving about is the Expand series. So I bought the first book in the series, which is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. I know there is the season 6 is running now of Expanse, or going to release or something like that. So at some point I want to watch the TV show as well. So, but as usual, I want to get to the books first. So yeah, this is a start. Next is a fantasy standalone, which is a rare phenomenon, I think, which is The Priory of the Orange Tree. How beautiful is this cover? Check it out. By Samantha Shannon. I know that this is also very popular among booktubers. Last but not the least, the book that I want to share with you is The Greatest Short Stories of Anton Shakeup. I hope I have not covered this in another video. I don't remember talking about it, but yeah, I am aiming to go through many short stories next year. I've never been a fan of short stories as such. After I discovered the Codex Cantina channel and the way they cover short stories, it really got me interested into short stories. So I bought these two books. Inspired by Una and Crypto from the Codex Cantina. So thanks to you guys for the inspiration. So I'm planning to get through as much short stories as possible next year. So those were the 40 plus odd books that I bought for my birthday. My birthday is on December 22nd. I'm not a huge birthday celebration kind of a person, but I thought that because it's kind of a round figure like 40 I'm turning, so I thought that maybe I should treat, and what better way to treat myself than with books, great books. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know what you think about the books that I bought. You know, if any of them are your favorites, let me know. And if you want to participate in any of the buddy reads for any of these books, let me know as well, so we can read it together. So that was the video today, guys. I hope you liked it, and tune in for the next one. Bye bye.